it got to a point where the stress actually took over my body, like physically. I could feel my muscles tensing, I could feel the inflammation in my body.
And one of the biggest reason of autoimmune disorder is stress only.
Yeah. Then on social media, I came across something called craniosacral therapy.
In craniosacral therapy, we bring pattern back to its natural form.
There was touch, but there wasn't much movement.
So later on during the sessions, I realized that there has been a sexual abuse that had happened. Even she forgot about it.
How our minds are connected to our bodies, and how trauma and stress can actually show up as physical symptoms.
We train our brain to move on,
Yeah.
but our body knows exactly what has happened.
Yeah. It was often written off as psychosomatic disorders, it's all in the head, but turns out it's not.
Told me that her mom went through a lot during the pregnancy period. A lot of relationship issues were going on at that point of time. There was a separation immediately after pregnancy.
Oh.
Physical issues were bone-related issues, like you're having a backache, or there's a slip disc or knee joint pains.
When you're giving a session, do those emotions sometimes transfer onto you as well?
When you yourself are not calm from inside, you would not be able to understand the subtle movements of what body is trying to tell you.
Right. Before I introduce today's guest today, I want to take you through a little backstory. So it all started 6 months ago when I was going through a particularly tough time in my life, with work stress and other things happening. And it got to a point where the stress actually took over my body, like physically. I could feel my muscles tensing, I could feel the inflammation in my body, and I just could not wind down. Of course, as a therapist, I tried a little mindfulness and other things which helped me manage it for a bit, but the feeling was persistent. And then on social media, I came across something called craniosacral therapy. And I didn't know what it was. But if you know me well, you would know that if I don't know what something is, I have to try it out. So I did, and it was a pretty interesting experience and rewarding too. So, which is why I wanted to talk about today, not just about craniosacral therapy, but also how our minds are connected to our bodies, and how trauma and stress can actually show up as physical symptoms. So, please welcome Vishakha Natani, who's been practicing craniosacral therapy for quite some time now, and she's helped hundreds of people heal from trauma and stress in their daily lives. I have read about it a little bit before I got here, and I have some mixed views on it, which I'm going to question her about. So stay with me. Welcome, Vishakha.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Vishakha, like we know that, modern psychology or conventional psychology has always seen the mind and the body as two separate entities. But recent research is now confirming that the two are more connected than we know. In fact, our feelings show up as physical symptoms, our stresses show up as physical symptoms, and sometimes disorders and illnesses, physical illnesses that have no other explanation, find their way back into our, the depths of our minds.
Exactly.
Right? And it was often written off as psychosomatic disorders, it's all in the head, but turns out it's not. Right? So, how did you get into this space, and what really triggered this journey into mind body healing?
So, few years back, I was going through a difficult period in my life, and one of my best friends, she introduced me to this work. And when I took my very first session, I realized how deep it was and the kind of change it brought to me. And that was a turning point in my life, and then there was no going back. I took multiple sessions over a period of time, and so there was a point of time in my life I stopped everything with whatever I was doing. And if you know, I'm from a commerce background.
Yeah.
I've done my BCom honors and then MBA, and then worked in corporate for some time, but got introduced to this work. I quit my job and I did everything, and I decided to pursue this further. So it's a 2-year training program. You study a lot about body psychology and how the emotions are stored in our body. How can
Right.
we relieve ourselves from this? And then there was no going back. That how the journey has been.
You know, as somebody who's into the medical, the medical field and specifically mental health, and being a practitioner myself, I too did not know much about craniosacral therapy. In fact, I came across this word, and I try all sorts of alternate healing as well, because I mean, unless you try it, how would you know whether it works or not? And if I have to refer any of my clients to something, I need to try it out first. So, which is I came to you that day.
I remember.
So, I bet if I did not know, most people would not know either.
Of
So,
course.
would you like to explain what exactly it is? Because the name sounds pretty fancy and complicated, like craniosacral therapy. So, would you like to explain that?
Sure, definitely. So, cranium means our cranium bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are several bones in our skull, and those are cranium bones. Sacral is a sacrum bone. There's a triangular shaped bone at the end of our spine. It is one of the oldest bone that is
Sort of
formed
here.
in our body. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's there at the end of spine. Yeah. So the entire therapy is based on our entire from this head to the tailbone, an entire central nervous system. So the way we breathe in and breathe out, our lungs have a breathing pattern. Right?
Right.
This is how the lungs breathe in and breathe out. In a similar way, every bone in our body has its own breathing pattern. And in this work, we bring the bone into back to its original breathing pattern. That we call it primary respiration of the bones. So because of our lifestyle issues and everything, this pattern gets distorted. And in craniosacral therapy, we bring pattern back to its natural form.
How do you do that? Because when I took the therapy with you, there was touch, but there wasn't much movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no manipulation
Yeah.
from practitioner side. It is absolutely natural. See, as I said, our bones have their own natural rhythmic breathing pattern. There's nothing that you are doing on your own. As you're breathing in and breathing out, you're not thinking, oh, I have to breathe in again, I have to breathe out again. Similarly, our bones are also doing its own job on its own. So, we don't, as a practitioner, again, as I'm mentioning, we don't have to do any manipulation. We don't have to do anything. When the body gets its right space and right touch, when I say the right touch, I mean it's a neutral touch. I don't have any intention behind it. I don't want to create any change. It's a non-intention based touch, neither good or bad. It's in between, neutral touch. So when that kind of a touch is given to our body knows it relaxes on its own and heals. It's that subtle movements as a practitioner we are able to feel. So the beauty of this treatment, this therapy, is that I don't have to create any change as a practitioner into client's body. Everything happens naturally.
So if you know for a fact that the body tends to get stuck in a loop of fight and flight when there's a prolonged period of stress, trauma, grief, or any major life event, and you know, in a normal healthy situation, the body would go into that stress state and come back to its baseline. But when that period is prolonged and unmanaged, it just gets stuck in that loop and finds it impossible to come back into its relaxed state all over again. So the key here is to activate the parasympathetic response, which is basically bringing the body back into the relaxed state. And there is research to show that gentle touch is one of the ways to activate the parasympathetic response. So initially I thought it's a bit of a woo woo, but then when I studied it, I kind of added it up and it made sense to me. Like, I want to also share what I felt during that session. I don't know if everybody feels the same way. I do
It's
they?
no. For every person, it's absolutely different.
Yeah,
Everyone has their own story.
right.
Yeah, everybody has its own story, and everyone is going through their own journey. So for
Hmm.
everyone, uh, even if I'm using exact same holds, then also they would go through a whole different healing pattern on its
Hmm.
own only.
Okay, cut. So now you can just add on to this, say that, but I would really like to know what you felt.
So I would really like to know how was your experience during the session?
My experience, like, it felt very benign, like nothing major was happening. There was no action as such, but by the end of it, and even during the session, I was like, is something happening? Is she doing something or not? But by the end of it, it just felt like I got a, like an inner massage. When your entire nervous system is sort of in a more calmer space. And I slept very well that day.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
really
that's
nice.
what I remember. Look, I didn't have any huge problem that I came to
Mm-hmm.
you with. I was just very stressed out and very tired, and I just couldn't get out of my fatigue. So, like, there is massage for the body. This was massage for the inner systems, is what it felt like.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of this therapy. This work is really subtle.
Yeah,
So all these the movement of a fascia, bones, and organs, everything is it's happening on a very subtle way.
yeah.
In our day-to-day life, we don't feel any movement
Hmm.
in our system. Like
Yeah.
everything is happening naturally. The blood work or how the organs are reacting on its own. They're doing everything is happening on
Hmm.
its own only. So while you were on the table, all I had to do was just to provide that space to the body to heal on its own. As I said, it's a biodynamic craniosacral therapy
Hmm.
work. There is no manipulation from the
Yeah.
practitioner's side. I would not be changing any movement of the bone or twisting it.
I think it just sends that subtle signal to the brain that it's in a safe space. And then it
So
kind of starts winding down.
yeah. So during craniosacral therapy, our cerebrospinal fluid gets activated. And
Hmm.
when that happens, natural healing of the body happens. So, as a
But how is all this trauma? Trauma is stored in the body. You know that for a fact.
yes.
Let's talk about some of the ways that it shows up.
So, strongest of the memories and impressions, as you are very much aware, that they get stored in our body. The
Yeah.
moment you are with someone, you touch them. The moment the session starts,
Hmm.
you immediately get to know become aware of the strongest memories.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, as a brain, and if anything happens in our life, we
Hmm.
train our brain to move on.
Yeah.
But our body knows exactly what has
Exactly.
happened.
Yeah.
And this is where all the traumas and emotions get stored in our body.
Hmm.
But obviously, it's a body. At the other point of time, it will show all these things would come up.
Yeah.
Body also wants to heal itself.
Hmm.
So when a headache is happening, or there's a IBS issues, or your liver is coming up again and again, this is a way of body is trying to tell, oh look, I need some attention.
Yeah.
This is high time you have been
Yeah. It's
ignoring
your
me.
mind speaking through your body.
Exactly, that is what it is happening. So there's a continuous headache that is happening. You need to look down. What is that is bothering you?
Yeah.
People come up with their heart issues, or their lung is becoming more and more weak by the time. It could be your guilt issues, or there could be something that is unresolved emotions that you are going through in your life.
Hmm.
People come up with all sorts of case
Are
histories.
you able to map a certain ailment with a certain emotion?
Yes, of course.
For
So,
example?
for example, if you're not able to control your urinary bladder, it could be because of indecisiveness in you, or your liver is becoming weak. It could be because of some anger issues that you are holding. So every organ in our body is connected to some or the other emotion.
Hmm.
And when these when there's some issue that comes up in these organs, it is high time to notice that what kind of emotions that we are going through. And while a person is taking a session, this is where you realize when a certain organ is coming up again and again.
With that subtle touch
Hmm.
that you do, and you didn't do anything else apart from that subtle touch,
Huh.
from what I remember. I don't know, maybe you do different things for different people in sessions. Um, how does that come through to you, that what exactly, like a person will tell you, like, that I've been having, say, liver issues, I've been having pain in my body. But as a
Not
practitioner, when
necessarily.
they won't.
No. At times what happens is like so many people come and they say that as such life सही चल रही है, कोई
हाँ,
problem नहीं है,
हाँ,
बस रात को नींद नहीं आती है.
हाँ.
It's a very important part of the session is to get to know person what exactly is happening in their life.
Hmm.
So while they're talking, this is when they realize, अच्छा ये भी हुआ था हमारी life में, or they have suppressed emotions, they have suppressed so many things so deeply inside themselves that they then forget that, oh, this is what
That
had
something
happened.
happened, yes.
Yeah. I had a client, she's somewhere around 20s and having a great job and absolutely good relationship, everything was happening fine, but she was having a lot of intimate issues, and somehow she forgot like what had happened in her life and everything. She just she was a very bubbly person, and she was just you would not even nobody can even guess that she would be going through something like this in her personal life.
Hmm.
She's a very bubbly person, and she just said that I don't know why is it happening to me. So later on during the sessions, I realized that there has been a sexual abuse that had happened. Even she forgot about it. So while taking a session, as I said, the organs and body speak out.
Yeah.
This is where the problem lies. This is where it is calling out attention to. And this is where I realized that, oh, there was something that coming up towards the uterus area, anal region, and there was a lot of stress over there.
Can you feel that with your hands when you're
Yes, the
navigating?
quality of fascia, the way it was responding towards in comparison to the other organs
Right.
was very different. So when I asked that, would you like to share any history, or is there anything that you would like to
Hmm.
particularly mention? And this is where she realized that during when she was in school, somebody tried to touch her inappropriately, and that had happened multiple times.
So did she know? I mean, did she remember that, or did the therapy session trigger
During the
that?
therapy session, she realized, and then
The
later on,
suppressed memory came forth.
exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So every organ, every bit of her body has its own memory. It could be happy memory, it could be sad memory, it could be anything. It is the strongest memory of a body, of the life, shows up in our body.
I think we are a lot less forgiving with our emotions as compared to our bodies. So suppose you meet with an accident and break your arm.
Hmm.
It's physical trauma, it's visible, and the doctor tells you that you have to, put it in a cast and give it rest and allow it time to heal.
Exactly.
But when there's emotional trauma, somebody's death or a heartbreak or a big disappointment in life, we don't allow ourselves that
That happens.
luxury, because it's
Exactly.
not visible. So we're like, we need to get on with the day.
This
We need
is
to,
how we
yeah.
have been brought up in our life. Every single time, even if a child, when he or she falls down, the first reaction of everyone around is, it's okay,
कुछ नहीं हुआ.
कुछ नहीं हुआ, अरे कोई बात नहीं, उठ
हाँ,
जाओ.
हाँ.
So this is how we have trained. That
Yeah.
is a good strategy, because you cannot keep on, oh, lag gayi. You cannot just
हाँ,
keep on
yeah.
pacifying yourself. That is a good strategy, otherwise, to be in a fight mode. But somewhere in life, you need to understand where, if anything has happened, it's okay to cry. It's okay
Yeah.
to, sit back and realize what has happened, ponder upon your own mistakes. And this is because of that only we carry on so much of guilt, trauma, regret. Oh, I should have done
And just
that.
acknowledge that, yes, I was in pain, I am in pain, and that it's okay to feel that pain, let it pass through you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
very
luxury
important.
we don't allow ourselves often, because just because mental stresses and emotional traumas are not visible to the eye, it's far difficult to explain. It's far difficult to empathize. Like a broken arm, everyone, oh, what happened, how did it happen? It's tangible, but when it's pain on the inside, you're like, ये सब तो life में होता रहता है.
And then later on,
Yeah.
this is how it, psychosomatic issues come up.
Exactly.
Today, autoimmune disorder is
Hmm.
so common. And one of the biggest reason of autoimmune disorder is stress only.
Yeah.
There's so many things you're just holding on to. You're trying yourself to move on, but body knows how what
You
has
cannot
gone through.
move on until you deal with it.
Exactly.
That's the more I delve into this field, the more I study about the mind body connection, it's just amazing. And there is another slightly controversial side to it, which is of past life memories also. I've been reading about that a lot and talking to multiple people about it. So like you said, if a childhood like past life can be past life from yesterday or from another lifetime also, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
So many memories are from birth. While, for example, whatever mother is going through her
yes.
pregnancy, she
Hmm.
automatically transfers to her.
Transfers the
And this is
emotion.
where intergenerational trauma
Trauma
also
comes in, yes. So
Not
it's
necessarily everything that we are going in our life is due to the past life trauma.
correct. It's somebody else's trauma of some other time, some other life, your mother's emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a combination of everything, and
And
we
then
are
you wonder कि ये मेरे साथ तो ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं. This is not something I have experienced. This is not my lived reality. So why am I feeling this? Right?
Yeah. I have a classic example. One of my client, she was extremely insecure of relationship. My partner would die, my partner would leave me, or I would be alone.
I'm like that a little bit.
So she had that, and someone she was like, when I asked her, how's your husband doing? How's your it was just like she never had any issues in relationship. Nothing happened during school time or college time. She married her college sweetheart. Everything was going fine in her relationship, but the fear of losing the partner was so strong that she had no idea from where it was coming. And then this is where I decided to go deeper into help her go deeper into the sessions. So I asked her, how was your birth? So she told me that it was a normal delivery only. Then I asked her, how was the pregnancy period of your mom? So this is where she told me that her mom went through a lot during the pregnancy period. A lot of relationship issues were going on at that point of time. And there was a separation immediately after pregnancy.
Oh.
So all those emotions that her mother was going on,
she carried them with her.
Exactly. And for no reason, she had that fear that my partner would leave me. And once we went deeper into the sessions, all those emotions were released from her body.
Yeah.
And later on, it was like, so her exact words were like, she felt like as a new person, as if none of those things ever existed in her life.
I think I need to come back to you for another session.
Of course.
No, but jokes apart, how long does it typically take? How many sessions does it typically take for anyone to see change?
It all depends from person to person. I had a client, she had extreme backache, and she could not even get up from bed. So within one session, she was absolutely okay. And next day, she joined her work.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is just one example. I have another example. There's this person who used to come to me. He had severe headache issues. He took more than 10 sessions to get over this. So every person has its own history, their own patterns that they have been following in life. So it is never like, as a practitioner, you can never determine, even before a session also, like, oh, these are the number of sessions you need to take to get over this. I can certainly help you, but from how deep it is coming from, that has its own individual journey only.
So how is it, how are these emotions that are suppressed in the deep recesses of the mind? So I know how it's done through psychotherapy, but through CST, how does that, the release happen?
So all these emotions, when they are stored in fascia, there's a certain tightness.
Right.
And when they are released, automatically it becomes free-flowing, natural. that they are able to breathe on its own, automatically the person becomes much more happy, healthier,
Lighter.
lighter.
For example, I have a lot of tightness around my upper back and shoulders and the neck. It's always like always tensed. So
It
what
could
could that point
be,
to?
yeah. It could be because of your working schedule. All the time you might be using a lot of computer.
No, like my posture and all is fine. I worked through that, but it's always really tight. Uh, this upper back
Are you
and
taking too much of responsibility in
yeah.
life?
I mean, I'm not taking. It's been given to me. लेता कौन है? पड़ जाती है.
So there could be multiple
Yeah.
reasons. See, tightness of fascia around your shoulders could be one that you are taking too. There's too much of responsibility in
Yeah.
life, or you are taking too much of responsibility of whatever has happened throughout the life. It's majorly that person is taking too much of what it is. So basically, अगर लाइफ में देखा जाए तो इतना नहीं होता, लोड नहीं होता जितना हम अपने खुद से ले लेते हैं.
I'm taking load that isn't there is what it means.
It could be.
I
Without
hope it is. The whole load is not real.
it could be. Again, we have to delve deeper into the sessions to know what exactly the reason is. As far as I know and I have guessed, it could be because of that something.
It's taken too much upon myself.
Yeah, you yourself are doing that on yourself. It is not that it is there in life. It could be that you want to take more responsibility of your life or the decisions or how you want to take for future of your life as such.
I'll ask a little bit. I mean, I'll go into tricky territory. So when I was reading about CST, in a lot of places it was called a pseudoscience and something that doesn't have scientific backing to it. I will share my views on it, but as a practitioner, as somebody who studied it in depth and practiced it and effectively helped people, how do you feel about that?
Let me tell you a story about Andrew Taylor Still. He's the one who invented osteopathy.
Okay.
So craniosacral therapy is part of osteopathy. I'm sure you must have heard about chiropractors.
Yes.
So under osteopathy, there's chiropractors and then there are craniosacral therapists. So the difference between both of them is chiropractors would do a lot of manipulation with hands regarding bones and everything. But in craniosacral therapy, there's no manipulation. The story goes back to 1800s. In 1800s, Andrew Taylor Still was the one who founded craniosacral therapy. So there was civil war that was going on, and he was one of those doctors who was placed in various cantonments. So this was his realization. He realized that where there were no doctors available, soldiers survived, and where there were doctors available, the death rate was much higher. So this was the point which triggered him. He wanted to analyze what was the reason behind this. So he realized that when there are no restrictions in the body take its own natural healing course.
But does that not discredit medical science as a whole? Is that not a dangerous thought to have?
So allopathy has its own role to play. I'm not saying that if someone is having a stomach infection or there's a severe injury, you're supposed to take craniosacral therapy at that point of time. Of course, you need to immediately rush to a doctor and do the necessary steps. So for example, if someone is going through a depression, there's something traumatic that has happened in their life, and because of which they are in depression, like there are serious cases of endogenous depression, or you're losing your sleep, or there are rape cases. No matter how many medication you take, you would not be able to get over it.
Right.
In such cases, craniosacral therapy has given excellent results. Some people might call it placebo, but I do not agree with it. And the results and the testimonials that people have been giving, the experiences they have been sharing are amazing.
I have an interesting opinion on placebos actually. a lot of the scientific community would dismiss it, ki this is a placebo, it's not really causing any physiological change, right? That's what a placebo is typically is. But the larger point is that if a person believes that a certain medicine or a certain treatment is working for them, it actually does work for them, because there is a
The
certain
first
faith.
step is to have
Yeah, there
faith.
is, and
Yeah.
you see that in cancer treatments, you see that in so many cases where the person believes that yes, something is helping me, something is causing a positive shift, and it does happen. And then
Yeah, like
again, go, yeah,
terminally ill cases, or where the doctors have given up, or there have been so many cases where a person has suffered severe injury and doctor says that no, you cannot walk anymore.
that is a
But
typical, that is the most what is a solid example of the mind body connection, right?
exactly, if we there's this line, you know, मन से हारे तो हार जाओगे.
Exactly.
तो
So I mean, placebo is also a kind of faith कि मैंने ये, चाहे वो होम्योपैथी की वो चीनी वाली गोली हो, आपने खाई,
हम्म.
अगर आपको लग रहा है कि उससे मेरी तबीयत ठीक हो रही है और आपकी तबीयत ठीक हो जाती है, so it's working, right?
Exactly, exactly. But that is there. But in craniosacral therapy, since we are working on a embryo, we are working on such a deep level. We are working on embryological patterns of our body.
Hmm.
So many emotions, so many experiences that we are carrying from right from the birth, and we are working on a such a deeper level. The changes that happen are very profound, and even though they take their own course of action, but the results are permanent.
So you're just talking about depression. How do you typically approach a case of depression that comes to you?
Depression could be of various kinds, and it could be as severe as a person trying to commit suicide, or it could be as like a person is completely dead from inside, no action. I had a case where a person could not even feel my touch as well. So it's just not what is happening on the table. I give them various resourcing exercises to practice at home as well. So it could be as simple as walking barefoot on the grass, or sitting and just looking at the nature. Um, there's this very simple exercise that I gave one of my clients, that while you're showering, just feel the water that is dripping on your skin. People are dissociated on all sorts of levels.
Yeah.
And when a person comes, the very important part that I talk to them. Multiple sessions, I don't even, start a table session with them. I talk to them, I make them speak. Uh, so many people have not talked about their life to anyone. People just know that you exist, but internal reality of it's very different. So I make them talk. I make them discuss things that they have never discussed or shared with anyone. And once they do that, they feel so much light. Um, it's a again, it's a person to person case. I'm dealing with a case where person is going through a very painful separation, and because of which she's in major depression. She has started with smoking, drinking, and harming herself in various ways. For this person, for almost 10-15 days, I made her talk. I made her share her entire life history. And then when I started with the session, instead of giving more of a table session, I asked her to do certain things that on her own. And finally, when there was a proper 40 to 50 minute session, she started feeling so much of change in her body, which she wouldn't have felt otherwise if it would have just started just like that. So, as I said, every person has their own story, and
Right.
how you perceive various things matters a lot. It could be a simple case as well, where your mom is just being strict. A person like me could be like, अरे क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है, मम्मी तो ऐसे ही बोलती रहती
Hmm.
है. some other person might take it as a very serious thing. अब मम्मी ऐसे कैसे बोल सकती है मुझे? Or you could build an entire
Right,
story
right. It's
inside
all
your head.
perception. True.
It's all about your perception. So it's important to know from what developed that perception inside. There's a story behind all of these things, and birth patterns play a very major role into this. So generally, when a person is going through a major depression period, I ask their birth history as well, from where it has started.
So, when you're taking sessions for somebody who's suffering from depression, does it happen alongside conventional therapy, conventional antidepressants, or whatever the doctor might have prescribed to
A lot
them?
of people, yeah, so many people are there that who are taking antidepressants. I don't stop any medication for them. I let that happen till the point body itself becomes so strong and realizes that I don't need this anymore.
Right.
So as I said, allopathy has its own role to play,
Yeah.
and but there are certain aspects.
Yeah, in some severe cases, I mean, it's a very common thing in our society, and it's very sad also that a person who's on antidepressants, a friend will tell them, or some random person will tell them that no, you don't need this, it can all be fixed, just like that. Maybe it's not the most ideal thing to be on medication all your life. In some conditions it warrants it also, like if there's schizophrenia, if there's bipolar disorder, your brain chemicals are out of whack, you need to be on medication. But for your emotional problems, say grief or trauma and things that you're talking about, I think antidepressants work like a painkiller, but for the emotions. It buys you some time, by sort of calming you down in the moment, so that, like you said, that the body will then find a way to heal itself. But you need to give it that time so that more damage is not done in the process.
Exactly, you
Right?
need to give that time and space
Yes,
to your
yes.
body.
That's why no doctor, no psychiatrist also will ever say कि तुम सिर्फ दवाइयाँ खाओ. They will always say कि दवाइयाँ खाओ but साथ में go for therapy also, so that the deeper issues, your suppressed emotions, your whole thought patterns, perceptions, and all is also gradually cleaned out. And in the meantime, this will support you, help you get through life, help you be functional, because a lot of people are not able to be functional in their work or relationship. They're not able to get out of bed also. So, I mean, yeah, but as a practitioner myself, I always see a lot of credit in alternate therapies, conventional therapies, and medical therapies coming together, because again, the mind body connection, it's not just the neurochemicals, it's not just what you're consciously aware of, and it's not just what is suppressed, because eventually it is showing up in your body, it is impacting your life in a way that you're not able to explain. So, like, my next question to you obviously is that apart from emotional issues and trauma and depression and things like that spring out of the depths of the mind, what other conditions is CST typically beneficial in?
So all sorts of physical issues.
Like purely physical issues also?
Yeah, physical issues where bone-related issues, like you're having a backache, or there's a slip disc, or knee joint pains. In all of these issues, CST plays an amazing role by releasing the fascia and bone movements, and you can feel an immediate shift in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever there is touch therapy involved, a lot of people might confuse it with modalities like Reiki and energy healing. So is it different?
Absolutely, of course it
Yeah.
is different. There, I am not transferring any energy of mine into the client's body, nor I am shifting any energy in them. It is purely scientific. I'm just working on their fascia and bone
No,
movement.
energy healing is also scientific. We know that now.
Yes, of course it is. But people, when they come for the session, they'll be like, "आप क्या कर रहे हो? आप कुछ
हाँ.
अंदर से कुछ अपना energy दे रहे हो क्या?"
हाँ.
And then tell them,
That's
no,
what
no, no.
exactly what, because there's not a lot of movement happening. They might
Because-
think maybe it's something like Reiki only. हाँ.
So people have this thought process. If you're coming for an osteopathy session, वो कुछ ऐसे तोड़ेंगे मड़ोड़ेंगे,
हाँ.
कुछ movement movement
हाँ,
then only the body fascia would
correct.
be released. So this is not how it
Is there a
happens.
age, age limit, like who all can get it done? Is there any counter?
No,
What do you say?
anyone who is breathing
Huh.
can take this session. From newborn babies
Hmm.
to a person who is who's about to die also can
Hmm.
take a session. In fact, craniosacral therapy sessions are for animals as well.
Really?
Yeah, we have courses like for horses, elephants. So many people
Okay.
take sessions for
So
their
if there's a
pets.
newborn baby, what do you typically treat them for?
Newborn baby have so many issues of related to latching, or
Hmm.
their stomach is upset, they are not able to feed well, or they are just cranky, or all those. It's a 9 month journey that they
Hmm.
have completed inside womb,
Yes.
and journey of coming out from there. It's one of the most difficult journey
Yeah.
as
That's your
a
first trauma.
yeah,
Yes.
and there's so many issues that are related to that. So, if your pregnancy was not normal and there have been
Hmm.
some complications, the immediate entire impact goes to the baby.
Have you done any sessions on animals yet?
I gave one session to a monkey. It was some time back, and oh, it was a beautiful
Tell me
experience.
about it.
So, I was in one of the campuses of S. Vyasa. I was doing a research work there on craniosacral therapy only. And I was just walking, and one of the monkeys fell from tree above. It was sitting above the tree and just fell down. And I heard a very loud bang noise, and I was just immediately rushed, and then saw that monkey was bleeding. So I placed my one hand under his head and another hand over his end of the backbone, and within few seconds I realized that that monkey is not going to survive.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but the beauty part of it was that his breath became much calmer, and he was able to and he had a very settled and a pain-free death.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
gave that session for 15-20 minutes, and that eye contact we had
Hmm.
and the love I could feel. It was beautiful, and it was one of the best experiences I had. Though that monkey died after some time, but I'm really glad that I could play a little bit of role.
Help him pass peacefully.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And like when you're giving a session to a human or an animal, of course they would have very intense emotions stored. That is why they have come for therapy in the first place. Do those emotions sometimes transfer onto you as well?
So there's a very important concept of grounding and resourcing ourselves in this work. If we ourselves are not resourced properly, resource, when I say the term resource, it means my meditations, my regular exercises, taking a good diet, taking an excellent care of herself.
Hmm.
So when you yourself are not calm from inside,
Right.
you would not be able to understand the subtle movements, the what body is trying to tell you.
Right.
So these emotions, this trauma that has been stored in the body, these are very subtle.
Very subtle.
A person would not scream and say that, oh, this has happened to me, this is why I have come. These are very subtle emotions.
Subtle reminds me that even in our Vedas, we are described as 7 layers of body.
Yes,
There is,
7 layers of existence. Yeah.
yes,
So, as you're mentioning about the 7 layers of
yes,
existence, I would
yes.
like to mention this is where I've been part of Art of Living from past 20 years. I've been
Hmm.
meditating and doing my yoga and practices, and it has played a very strong role in my craniosacral therapy work, because when I am calm from inside, I'm able to understand those unsaid things which a person is going through. And I tell you a very interesting example over
I was going to
here.
say something, I will, yeah.
I recently had a case. This person was, yelling and shouting,
Huh.
and that I went through this and that. But when I looked at her and I was giving her session, I realized this is all a fake story.
Really? How
Yeah.
so?
So when a person is going through a depression or
Hmm.
dissociation, your heartbeat should be high, your blood pressure
Yes,
would be
yes,
high,
yes.
and you would be in parasympathetic mode. So
Like a shutdown.
yeah, there
Yeah.
would be a shutdown. So, but none of those things were happening inside. So I realized that, oh, this is a very much made up and fake story. So I didn't say anything. I give her time to, express whatever she wanted to.
Hmm.
And later on, and in the end of session, she was like, why are you not reacting? I was like, nothing, there's nothing. I'm just listening to you. And then she realized herself that I realized what was exactly happening.
Hmm.
And then she told me her entire real story.
So, like you're just talking about art and living and your spiritual practices. Isn't it beautiful how we've always believed science and spirituality to be opposing forces, like one versus the other?
Oh, no,
But
no, no.
it's basically the same thing and it's so deeply interconnected, it's not even funny.
You
Right?
know, Andrew Taylor Still, when he invented osteopathy, he was highly influenced by the Indians living over there.
Hmm.
The major core principles of osteopathy and biodynamic craniosacral therapy are based on our Vedas, our
Yeah, that's what it
our
sounded like.
meditation.
Yes.
Yeah, and the principles of osteopathy and biodynamic
Hmm.
craniosacral therapy has its strong roots in Taoism, Buddhism, as spiritual practices that have we have been following
Hmm.
from thousands of years.
Hmm.
So it is very strongly related to it,
Yeah.
because the word itself, biodynamic, means that the body has its own natural healing
Yeah.
capacity. We don't have to do any manipulation or any changes for it to heal itself.
So if somebody has to come to you for a session, what should they expect?
That they will feel extremely light, calm, settled from inside, and over a period of time, they can get rid of their patterns, which they would have not been able to do it otherwise.
That's lovely. Thank you, Vishakha. Thank you for coming over today. And it's been a truly enlightening session. I got to learn a lot. I'm sure my viewers also did. And it's something worth trying out, guys. I mean, why not? As long as it works, it's all good. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and bye bye until next time.